from Juba, on air and online.
This is iRadio News.
Hello, good morning. This is iRadio News. First, here are the headlines. The Directorate of Civil Registry, Nationality, Passports and Immigration in Upper Nile State is urgently appealing to national authorities to send additional supplies of identity cards and passport booklets amid accusation that the office is collecting money without providing services. South Sudan's first female merchant marine officer, Captain Ajak Antonia Cole, has warned that entrenched cultural norms, discriminatory laws, and financial exclusions are systematically locking women out of the country's economy. And a mental health expert has urged the government to decriminalize attempted suicide, saying this is preventing survivors from receiving proper care and support. These are stories and more coming to in this news bulletin with me, Lasuba Memo, and now the news in detail. The Directorate of Civil Registry, Nationality, Passports and Immigration in Upper Nile State is urgently appealing to national authorities to send additional supplies of ID cards and passport booklets amid accusation that the office is collecting money without providing services. Brigadier General Joseph Monbun Chol Jok, the State Director of Immigration, warned that the shortage is damaging public trust as many applicants feel deceived after paying fees without receiving their documents. According to a post shared on his Facebook page, Brigadier General Monbun said, and I quote, "We are losing the trust of the public. People believe we are taking their money for nothing," end quote. He confirmed that immigration services are currently active in 8 counties across Upper Nile, including Malakal. However, operations remain non-functional in 5 counties of Ulang, Nasir, Longechuk, Banyekang, and Manyo. In a positive development, Monbun says efforts to deploy and expand mobile nationality registration services to Fashoda, Maban, and Balit counties to address urgent needs for IDs and passports are underway. General Monbun also announced that the newly appointed Commissioner of Longechuk County has expressed full support for the establishment of an immigration office there. It is disclosed that his deputy, Brigadier Tor March, will soon be dispatched to both Longechuk and Nasir counties to initiate operations. The Directorate expressed its commitment to bringing immigration services closer to the people despite logistical and resource-related constraints. South Sudan's first female merchant marine officer, Captain Ajak Antonia Cole, has warned that entrenched cultural norms, discriminatory laws, and financial exclusion are systematically locking women out of the country's economy. Speaking at the just concluded Women Leadership Conference, bringing together 250 women leaders and delegates in Juba, Captain Cole called for urgent reforms to dismantle the structural barriers preventing women from owning land, accessing credit, and participating fully in national development. In her address titled Enduring Women's Economic Development, Captain Akol outlined 7 major obstacles that continue to limit the economic empowerment of South Sudanese women. She argued that while women form a substantial portion of the population and play critical roles in agriculture, trade, and caregiving, they remain economically marginalized due to cultural, legal, and institutional constraints. Among the barriers he cited were deeply ingrained cultural beliefs that confine women to caregiving roles and harmful practices such as early and forced marriages. This, he said, prevent many girls, especially in rural and conflict-affected areas, from completing their education and entering the workforce with competitive skills. Akol also pointed to customary laws that deny women the right to own or inherit land, blocking their access to credit and capital for entrepreneurship and economic growth. Additionally, she said that many financial institutions view women as high-risk clients due to the absence of steady income and legal protections, limiting their access to banking services and credit. Despite South Sudan's ratification of several international treaties promoting gender equality, criticized the gap between the commitment and action. She said, and I quote, "Translation of these treaties into enforceable national laws remains inconsistent and implementation is weak," end quote. Captain Akol urged the establishment of dedicated gender-responsive budgets and national data system to monitor progress. Captain Akol, who holds degrees in law and maritime law and is currently pursuing a PhD in oil and gas with a specialization in marine offshore operations, said her own journey highlights both the possibilities and challenges for South Sudanese women. A mental health expert has urged the government to decriminalize attempted suicide, saying this is preventing survivors from receiving proper care and support. The law currently stipulates that anyone who survives a suicide attempt can face up to 1 year in prison, a fine, or both. Dr. Tong Alwel, one of South Sudan's foremost psychiatrists, says the criminalization of suicide attempts under Section 215 of the South Sudan Penal Code Act 2008 is causing families to conceal such incidents, hindering access to treatment and mental health services. Dr. Yuel, who specializes in psychiatry, neurology, behavioral disorders, and addiction, stressed that the legal consequences are deterring people from seeking help. The South Sudan National Police Service raised alarm earlier this month after 9 suicide cases were recorded in just 1 week. Police spokesperson Major General James Mandenoka confirmed most incidents occurred in Central Equatoria, Eastern Equatoria, and Lake State. One particular case involved a man in his 30s who attempted to take his life by jumping from a high-rise building in Juba over the weekend at events that shocked residents and sparked renewed calls for mental health reform. Dr. Yuel adds that while there is no national data to explain the increase in mental health cases, the World Health Organization reports that 1 in 5 people in crisis-affected societies suffer from mental health disorders, which is likely contributing to rise in suicides. Edmund Yakani, the executive director of the Community Empowerment Progress Organization, also pointed to economic strain as the driving factor. Meanwhile, Juma Daniel, the executive director of Action We Foundation, stated that social norms continue to silence men even during their most difficult moments. This is iRadio Morning News. And now to the international scene. Israel has ordered Palestinians to evacuate from parts of northern Gaza ahead of increased military action as U.S. President Donald Trump pushes for a ceasefire deal. People in neighborhoods across Gaza City and Jabalia have been told to move south towards the coastal area of Al-Mawasi as Israeli military operations intensify and expand westward. At least 86 people were killed as a result of Israeli truck attacks in the 24 hours before midday on Sunday, the Hamas-run hospital ministry has said. 3 children were among those killed in a strike on the so-called safe zone of Al-Mawasi, their parents have said. And Tehran's deputy foreign minister said the U.S. must rule out any further strikes on Iran if it wants to resume diplomatic talks. In an interview with the BBC, Majid Takhrazivachi says the Trump administration has told Iran through mediators it wants to return to negotiation but had not made their position clear on the very important question of further attacks while talks are taking place. Israel's military operation, which began in the early hours of 13th June, is scuppered a 6th round of mainly indirect talks set to take place in Muscat 2 days later. The U.S. became directly involved in the conflict between Israel and Iran last week when it targeted 3 Iranian nuclear sites in a bombing raid. This is iRadio Morning News. And to end this bulletin, here's a recap of the headlines. The Directorate of Civil Registry, Nationality, Passport and Immigration in Upper Nile State is urging the national authorities in Juba to send additional supplies of ID cards and passport booklets amid accusations that the office is collecting money without providing services. South Sudan's first female merchant marine officer, Captain Ajak Antonia Cole, has warned that entrenched cultural norms, discriminatory laws and financial exclusion are systematically locking women out of the country's economy. A mental health expert has urged the government to decriminalize attempted suicide, saying this is preventing survivors from receiving proper care and support. That's the end of iRadio Morning News. If there is a story or an event you'd like iRadio to cover or report about, please send us a text message at +21 925 287 It's also our WhatsApp number. Follow us on X at iRadio Juba. Like our Facebook page, iRadio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at iRadio South Sudan. You can also visit our website and listen to us online at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for the news in Arabic at 8 o'clock. I'm Lasuba Memo. Thank you for listening.